Welcome to KMUZ Theater Talk. I'm your host, Ed Schoaps. KMUZ Theater Talk comes your way the first and third Friday of every month to bring you news and in-depth interviews about auditions and performances of plays and musicals running at theaters throughout the Mid-Willamette Valley. On today's program, I talk with director Shaleen Reid Holbrook and actors Nathalie Reid Holbrook and TJ Lake from their upcoming production, Songs for a New World, opening January 30th at Keizer Homegrown Theatre. And in our second interview, director Stephanie Violet Schwarz and actors Kiera Dodge and Robert Pickett join us from the classic British comedy Charlie's Aunt, opening at the Albany Civic Theater January 10th. But first, let's take a look at the KMUZ Theater Talk calendar to learn about auditions and shows on stage in the Mid-Willamette Valley. Albany Civic Theater at albanycivic.org and on Facebook. Charlie's Aunt runs January 10th through 25th at ACT. This classic British period comedy is directed by Stephanie Violet Schwarz and Shauna Kifuk. We'll learn more about this production from Stephanie and two actors from the show later in today's program. Ride the Cyclone will run February 21st through March 15th at Albany Civic Theater. In this hilarious and outlandish story, the lives of 6 teenagers from a Canadian chamber choir are cut short in a freak accident aboard a roller coaster. When they awake in limbo, a mechanical fortune teller invites each to tell a story to win a prize like no other, the chance to return to life. Bridgetown Conservatory Salem is on Facebook and at bridgetownconservatory.org. The Man in the Ceiling, with music and lyrics by Andrew Lippa and book by Jules Pfeiffer, plays at Bridgetown Salem February 13th through 16th and in Portland February 20th through 23rd. It's directed by Vincenzo Maduri. 12-year-old Jimmy Gibbet wants to be a world-famous cartoonist. His father disapproves, his mother is clueless, and his uncle writes flop musicals. Who can Jimmy turn to for inspiration and hope? Maybe the Man in the Ceiling can lead him to his true destiny. See Bridgetown's website and Facebook page for ticket information. And check out Bridgetown's website for classes featuring triple threat training from musical theater professionals at their new location in downtown Salem. Bridge Creek Playhouse is at bridgecreekplayhouse.com and on Facebook. In 2025, Bridge Creek Players celebrate bringing 50 years of shows to their Silverton stage. They'll celebrate this milestone with a 14-production season, the most in their long history. Watch the brushcreekplayhouse.com website and Facebook pages for show and audition information. Gallery Theater is at gallerytheater.org and on Facebook. The Gallery Theater Annual Awards Night is coming up on Saturday, January 11th. This fun evening event will commemorate Gallery's remarkable 2024 season. For event details and a list of nominees, see Gallery's website. Gallery's 2025 season opens February 7th through March 2nd with Fiddler on the Roof. This beloved tale of Tevye the dairyman and his family's struggles in a changing Russia is a true musical theater tradition. Winner of 9 Tony Awards when it debuted in 1964, Fiddler on the Roof has touched audiences worldwide with its humor, warmth, and honesty. And Fiddler is followed by The Cottage, playing March 14th through 30th at Gallery Theater. And note that auditions are January 18th for Roald Dahl's Willy Wonka, and that will be on stage at Gallery Theater April 25th through May 18th. Auditions are February 9th and 10th at Gallery Theater for Edward Albee's masterwork, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? It runs October 10th through 26th. Keizer Homegrown Theatre at keiserhomegrowntheatre.org and on Facebook. Songs for a New World, a theatrical song cycle by Jason Robert Brown and directed by Shaleen Holbrook, opens Keizer Homegrown's 2025 season, January 30th through February 15th. Shaleen and 2 cast members will join us today to talk about this very interesting show. The Majestic Theater is on Facebook and at majestic.org. And Majestic's first show of 2025, Shakespeare in Love, is directed by Joanna Spencer and runs January 17th through 26th. Amadeus, directed by Riley Lucas, runs at the Majestic Theater March 7th through 16th. See their website and Facebook pages for show info. And open auditions for My Fair Lady at Majestic Theater are at 6:30 p.m. January 20th and 21st. You can learn how to sign up for vocal and dance slots on Majestic's Facebook page and at majestic.org. My Fair Lady runs May 2nd through 18th. Pinnacle Theater at pinnacletheater.org and on Facebook. Tickets are now available for the first show of Pinnacle Theater's 2025 season, the classic comedy Arsenic and Old Lace, directed by Scott Ramp. Get ready to laugh, gasp, and maybe think twice about that glass of wine. Arsenic and Old Lace is packed with hilariously sinister twists, unforgettable characters, and runs January 31st through February 22nd at Pinnacle Theater. Go to the Pinnacle Theater website for show information and tickets. Open auditions for Big Fish, a beautiful musical based on the celebrated novel and film, happen January 4th from 1 to 5 p.m. at the Pinnacle Theater Rehearsal Studio in downtown Salem. Big Fish tells the heartwarming story of Edward Bloom, a traveling salesman with larger-than-life stories, and his son Will, who's determined to uncover the truth behind his father's epic tales. It's directed by Jill Sorensen. See the pinnacletheater.org website and Facebook page for audition information. Big Fish runs March 21st through April 12th. The Salem Playhouse is an acting school for teens and adults. Classes for students in 8th through 12th grade are Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays at 4 to 6 p.m., and adult classes are Thursday evenings from 7 to 11 p.m. and Saturdays from 9 a.m. to noon. Go to thesalemplayhouse.com and click the Classes tab to sign up. Spotlight Community Theater is at spotlightct.com and on Facebook. A new musical adaptation of J.M. Barrie's classic story, Peter Pan, runs February 6th through 22nd at Spotlight. It's directed by Shannon Rempel. For show information and tickets, go to spotlightct.com. And that's followed by a romantic comedy set in an Italian villa, Enchanted April, playing at Spotlight Community Theater, April 24th through May 4th. It's directed by Franca Hernandez. Struts and Frets Theater Company at strutsandfretstheater.org and on Facebook presents its first dinner theater production, Daddy Longlegs, January 17th and 18th at Eola Hills Wine Cellars on Highway 99 in Rickreall. You can reserve tickets now for dinner theater or performances only at eventbrite.com. Theater 33 at Willamette University is at theater33.org and on Facebook. And Theater 33 Screening Committee is busy reading and screening scripts in progress for their Summer New Play Festival for 2025. We'll have more information for you about this summer's festival later in the new year. Western Oregon University at wou.edu/theater. Nora, A Doll's House by Steph Smith and directed by Kendra Steerson, plays February 26th through March 8th at the Rice Auditorium at WOU. And closing the Western Oregon University theater season next spring is Tiny Beautiful Things by Cheryl Strayed and Nina Verdalos. It's directed by Risa Fleming and plays May 28th through 31st. Willamette University Theater is at wutheater.com. And February 24th through 23rd, Willamette Theater presents Far Away, an hour-long futuristic nightmare in 3 short scenes that envisions a world where the promise of violence broods and nothing is to be trusted. Closing the Willamette Theater season, April 11th through 26th, is Bloom, Bloom, Pow, the climate doom comedy inspired by 1950s monster movies and the real-life 2014 crisis in Toledo, Ohio, when the tap water became deadly to use. At the high schools, South Albany High School is at SAHS Theater Arts on Facebook. Tickets go on sale soon for their production of Footloose, the musical, opening in early 2025. Watch the SAHS Theater Facebook page for more information. Central High School in Independence is on Facebook and at chsperformingarts.net. Little Women runs January 23rd through 25th at Central High. See Central High School's website to reserve your tickets to this classic favorite. McKay High School is on Facebook at McKay Thespians, and next up at McKay is Beetlejuice, running January 17th through 25th. McNary High School is on Facebook at McNary High School Theater. The Little Mermaid is coming to the McNary stage January 23rd through February 1st. And that's followed by their One Acts Festival February 20th through 21st. North Salem High School on Facebook at NSHS presents Something Rotten, a hilarious mashup of 16th century Shakespeare and 21st century Broadway, and that one runs January 9th through 18th at North. South Salem High School is on Facebook at Saxon Drama, and they've announced their winter musical production. It's Hadestown Teen Edition, and it runs January 17th through 26th at the Rose Auditorium at South Salem High. This Tony Award winner will be a hot ticket, so reserve your seat soon. And the final show of South Salem High School season is 12 Angry Jurors, and that runs May 15th through 17th. At Sprague High School, Neil Simon's rollicking comedy Rumors runs February 27th through March 6th. West Salem High School is at westsalemdrama.com, and their annual winter showcase is January 24th. That's followed by Shakespeare Favorite 12th Night coming to West Salem High in May. And that's it for today's KMUZ Theater Talk calendar for plays at your favorite theaters throughout the Mid-Willamette Valley. My first guest on KMUZ Theater Talk today are Shaleen Reid Holbrook, the director of Songs for a New World with music and lyrics by Jason Robert Brown. It's going to run at Keizer Homegrown Theatre January 30th through February 15th. Joining Shaleen are Nathalie Reid Holbrook and TJ Lake, who play multiple characters in this really interesting new musical. Welcome to Theater Talk, you guys.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, hello, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Hey, Shaleen, this really is an intriguing show. When I started to dig around online to find information about Songs for a New World, I was familiar with Jason Robert Brown's work and other musicals. I mean, he is a Tony Award-winning music writer and lyricist. How did you find this show, and what brings you to it?
Well, I love the song cycle, which is kind of how this musical is built. It's not really built on one story. It's interconnected series of songs that explore central themes on kind of a linear narrative. So I really loved that. But I've already done this show before in Klamath Falls. I was not the director of that particular show, and I just fell in love with it. And I have wanted to do it again ever since then, because it is just such a good show. The music will just have you the whole way through.
Brown has done something really interesting. It's a prolific writer, obviously, and he's created all of these musical pieces. He's woven all of these numbers together in a story that starts about the time Christopher Columbus and gang, quote, discovered the New World. Tell us a little bit about the storyline.
Each song does kind of build on the previous song, but not in the way that you would think it would build on it. So it really is each song contributing to like an overarching theme, and it really explores change and hope and human experience in one larger overall experience. And the emotions of everything are just really highlighted.
Is there a through line to all of this? I mean, you've got all of these pieces that weave different stories together into this beautiful production. What's the through line for it?
I think it's the emotional journey. That's the through line. It's not really just a story about a story. It is literally an emotional journey of the human experience.
Well, Nathalie, you're playing a number of characters. Tell me about your journey bringing these characters to life.
So, interestingly enough, I have also done Songs for New World prior. I did the Klamath Falls production that Shaleen was a part of, and that's how we met. That's the second show we worked on together. It's interesting that these characters there are four of us. So there's TJ Lake, who's also on this broadcast today, and Kent Wilson and Sarah Hansen. And we are all labeled as woman one, woman two, man one, man two. But each of those characters have their own set of characters built into it. So for woman two, who I portray, her character progression is there's a lot of kind of bitterness and anger that she has to resolve.
He has some challenges.
Yes, she's definitely got some challenges emotionally. And I think each character, which is so beautiful about the show, is that each character has an overarching theme of emotional journeys. And I think each character has their own, and they represent their own kind of emotion. I think Woman 2 is very much somebody who desperately wants love, but doesn't know how to recognize it. It's interesting approaching Woman 2 again a few years later and trying to make those characters different from the first time and really tell a compelling story. And they all change, and that's part of the challenge. You're going to see so much amazing acting from the folks I share the stage with, because we have to change characters in an instant, going from song to song. There's no dialogue throughout the show, really. There's nothing that really spoken wise connects everybody together. So being able to jump from character to character from song to song is the real challenge that belies all of us throughout this production.
Well, TJ, what is the greatest reward that you're getting out of this show?
So many. With each production I've been in, I've found myself gaining so much experience, knowledge, more skill than last, like before going into production. So I think going into this, not only is this like one of my favorite musicals of all time, I'm a big Jason Robert Brown fan, but the cast itself it's filled with great people. I'm so excited to get to work with these guys. I'm excited to be in a production of Songs for a New World, and I'm looking to make a lot of people smile, make a lot of people cry happy tears, but most importantly, I think have fun and walk away with a bunch of new friends and a great new community, because this is my first time working in this community. And yeah, I'm excited.
So what really must be exciting to you is playing all these different characters. Is there a character or a musical number that you look forward to every night when you go to rehearsal?
There is one, yes. We only covered it a couple times so far, but it's this one song called She Cries. It's a funny song about this man going through a frustration of figuring out if he wants to, go through with this relationship he's in, because she's kind of manipulative, and he just keeps finding himself coming back every time she cries, as stated in the title, because of that love he asked for. And it's a really fun song, and it's just hilarious.
A quick question for you, Shaleen. Who are the other two actors that are in this show?
So Kent Wilson.
Oh, Kent. God, he's wonderful.
Yeah. Everyone knows him. So it is hard, if you know Kent, to get him to get out from behind a piano, because that's his comfort zone. But he did it for me. So he will be our man one. And then Sarah Hansen is our woman one. And they are both very, very good. Sarah Hansen has really just done such a good job in the last at least 3 roles that I've seen her in. We've been friends from Gentleman's Guide to now. Seeing her in Gentleman's Guide to now in this show has been such a growth experience for me watching her. So I'm really looking forward to what she's going to bring to this. And I don't know if I have enough words to describe the excitement that I have and just the sheer luck that I feel that these people, these 4 humans agreed to do this with me. There are just not enough words to explain how amazing they are.
Tell us how the play starts and what conflict points are along the way.
The first number that you come into is it's a new world. That's literally the title. And you really see these characters in the opening song. You really see these characters just battling with that, like we want it to be a better day, but it's just been so hard up to this point, which right now also feels a little bit more real to me than it probably did the first time I did this show, because it has been
Why
so
is
hard.
that? Why is that?
Well, I'm also a nurse in my day life, and COVID has been extremely rough to be anybody that's in healthcare. And like the journey from 2020 to present as a healthcare person has been a really rough one. And so there has been lots of talk between my coworkers and just other healthcare professionals that I know and am friends with about how like we're just keep waiting for it to get better and knowing that like, you know, eventually we'll get there, but man, it's rough. And so this show in particular at this current time and in my life especially has really rung true in ways that it did not the first time I did it. Like the first time I did it, it was a great show, but it didn't have near the like heart in it that I have at present. So that opening number really does set you up for just really understanding a hard journey, but trying to still cling to hope to move you forward to the next step.
And so there are some moments of personal and emotional conflict or crises for some of these characters in song. Can you describe that?
Yeah, there are so many. I mean, arguably, Kent Wilson's character and Nathalie Reid are, I think, the most dramatic. I mean, I'll let the audience decide that for themselves, but I think their character arcs are probably the ones that do make you either laugh or cry a little bit quicker. And then TJ and Sarah both are kind of sneak attacks. They look soft on the outside and like they're not, you know, really going to push you too far. But there's a moment when TJ and Sarah have a duet, and that one gets me every single time. Like I never see it coming. I know it's happening because clearly I've, you know, heard this music a million times over, but it just is such a good experience of these emotions of love and loss and like clinging to someone who you know you're supposed to be with, or you know being mad at someone and like knowing that you should get to be mad at them, but you know you still love them, so you're still trying to find a way. In Kent's case, his character goes through a lot of being literally in jail in one of the songs and just not understanding like how he got here and why that is the way it is. And it's really powerful.
So Brown really transports the audience through the kind of life challenges that people have and how they work to overcome them.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, you know, the end kind of wraps it up. Like, you know, we've gone through all of these hard things. We've shared all of these hard experiences and emotions. And then in the end, it just leaves you for a new world, songs for a new world of hope and, you know, love and excitement. And, you know, that like, you know, when you're like right on the precipice of something just really amazing happening, that's where it leaves you. And it's such a good ending.
Well, let's talk a little bit about who's backing the singers in this show. Do you have a live band for this production?
We do. So we will not be using tracks. And I am very excited that that will be an addition to this show that will make it so much more lively. We have a pianist. Her name is Rachel Loop, and she will be our pianist for the run of the show. And then a bass player, a violin, and a drummer. Bass is Carolyn Gage, and violin is Nathalie Bratton. I'm sorry, Nathalie, if I've said it wrong. And then Jesse Salas is our drummer.
And you prefer that to using music tracks. Why do you think that having a live band is the good thing?
Well, in this show in particular, because several of the characters have some songs where you get to have a little bit of creative artistry, the band really emphasizes that, because as a band, you can wait a little for them to get to a place where, you know, they've had this good musical flair or, you know, stretched out this note a little bit longer, where you can't really do that with a track. The track is a train and you're either going to get on it or you're not. And having live musicians really does add a real lifeboat, and like it also adds a real base, a really good like strong platform for the singers to step up onto and just be their most powerful and amazing selves.
There's a difference between riding a train and driving a train, right?
Yeah, or getting drugged by the train. Sometimes that's how it feels on tracks.
Yeah, absolutely. Natalie, tell me a little bit about how rehearsals are going. You guys have got a little bit more than a month yet before you open. What kinds of things are you learning as a performer and as a vocalist during rehearsals for this show?
One thing that I'm learning for sure throughout the rehearsal process is different from my first experience with the show is I actually get to have a bit more blocking than I did in the previous version. It was very much a recital style where we just have a kind of a very limited space to move. And I didn't really have, we didn't have a set, we didn't have lights. So there's a whole load of technical elements and very impressive technical elements that are going to be added into the show that's going to pull the audience into the story. I think that's one of the great things about Keizer Homegrown is their stage. It's a very intimate space. And it feels like we're going to go on this ride together and they're going to be pulled in a way that I don't think they've seen at Keizer Homegrown before. And being able to, like I said, have that blocking and actually do it on a stage where I know we're still working on those technical elements being incorporated, but being able to give life to the music through movement is something that I'm super excited about. And it's probably safe to say that I have the majority of blocking because some of the songs that my character sings are pretty deranged or
it's sheer chaos.
It is chaos. And so there's a lot more blocking that I get to work with that I did not have before. And we have an amazing stage manager named Delena who takes copious notes and sends out those rehearsal reports because there's so much coming at us with such an abbreviated rehearsal time that we have those notes and she writes down all the blocking. So if I'm just working on blocking and Shaleen is directing me around the stage, I don't have to worry as much about if I've missed a specific point because I can come back to it because Lena has literally, she's like, you moved here on this word when you sang through it. I was like, okay, I didn't even know that. She's been fantastic. And so I think the biggest element for me in the rehearsal process to incorporate has been the blocking and being able to just physically convey what's happening in the music.
DJ, one quick question for you. We talked earlier about one of the musical numbers that you really liked a lot. What do you look forward to in terms of the stage work that you need to do when you go to rehearsal? What is it that really excites you as an actor?
I am a fan of creative freedom. Shaleen is an amazing director and is giving really good blocking notes so far, but there's a few times where she's not only tell me if this doesn't feel right, but also like there's plenty of creative freedom behind it. And I'm looking forward to, for sure, finding the motivation behind all these characters. And I look forward every rehearsal going in and every day just trying to find more motivation behind these lyrics, behind these words, and playing around with it, having fun. Every day it's new.
Shaleen, tell me a little bit more about the set. What is the set going to look like?
The set is not what people would expect and maybe exactly what they'd expect. It's a lot more technical lighting. Both myself and my assistant director, Nate Pierce, are very technical humans. That's usually our bag. This show will have a fair amount of lighting tricks, if you will. A lot of just transitioning from one musical piece to the next is going to be mostly based on lights because there's no dialogue to give you time to like move a bunch of set pieces around. So like there's no time for that. There are a couple of songs in particular that do have some pretty intricate set pieces, and those are being magicked by Nate. He is honestly the best. And I'm really looking forward to how this comes to life. We have a lot of projections that are probably going to be, and that is also a real help. when you don't have a lot of time to just help the audience transition from one song to the next, because they're not linear in the same story. They are linear in conveying different emotions, but definitely not, you're not staying with, like a named person. So the being able to transition with a different background gives the audience a little bit easier transition into the next song and the next song and the next song. So Nate has a lot of big plans up his sleeve, so I'm really excited for that to come to fruition.
I envy you guys your journey on this project because it sounds really, really fascinating. Shaleen, what do you hope audiences are going to take away from this production when they leave the theater?
My biggest hope is that, one, they will fill the theater. I think that's every director's hope, really. But then also just the experience of having that kind of show in this area. It really is not, just a super easy show that everyone can do. These people are very special. I want the audience to be able to come and witness their awesomeness. That's probably key point number one, is just that this cast and this set of musicians are really the best. I would pay to see them anywhere, but we're going to get to see them here for a quarter of what you would pay on Broadway. And I feel like they really are that good.
Well, we've been talking with director Shaleen Reid Holbrook and actors Nathalie Reid Holbrook and TJ Lake about Songs for a New World, a theatrical songs cycle that is going to play at Keizer Homegrown Theatre. It runs January 30th through February 15th. And this is a really interesting show. It's about moments in life. It's about where you hit the wall, where you have to make choices, where you have to make a stand, or where you have to retreat and regather. These stories and characters resonate today. It's the first musical from Tony Award winner Jason Robert Brown, who won Tonys for Parade, Bridges of Madison County, and more. It's a moving and powerful collection of songs, and it comes to life at Keizer Homegrown Theatre. And the production also includes actors Kent Wilson and Sarah Hansen. Thank you so much, Shaleen Reid Holbrook, Nathalie Reid Holbrook, and TJ Lake, for joining me here on today's KMUZ Theater Talk.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been great.
Charlie's Aunt plays at the Albany Civic Theater January 10th through 25th. It's a rollicking classic British comedy. And joining me today on KMUZ Theater Talk is director Stephanie Violet Schwarz and two actors from the show, Kiera Dodge, who's playing Amy Spedigue, and Robert Pickett, who plays Stephen Spedigue. Welcome to KMUZ Theater Talk, you guys.
Hello.
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 Charlie's Aunt is one of the most produced plays in the world. Tell me, Stephanie, what attracted you to this particular production?
Interestingly enough, I was looking on the internet for farces. I love farces. And I just kind of basically typed in, what's a good farce? And I've seen almost everything that was on that list except Charlie's Aunt. And so I went and read the script and found out that this is like the oldest farce that I should have been knowing about. And I read the script and just kind of fell in love with the shenanigans that are in it.
It's a great story. What elements of this tale really drive you every night at rehearsal when you're working with your actors?
My favorite part about farces is just coincidences, how everything seems to go coincidentally wrong. And then at the end, there's always a happy ending. I love a good happy ending. And so when we are rehearsing, it's all about making it as ridiculous as possible, making the coincidences seem natural, but everybody's still having a good time.
Well, this story centers on a couple of college students who invite their lady friends to meet Charlie's wealthy aunt from Brazil, where the nuts come from. I love that line. It's just really such a great one-liner in this show. But Charlie's aunt cancels, and they need someone to chaperone the ladies. Tell us about that little plot twist, Kiera.
Essentially, the aunt doesn't show up. And so Charlie and Jack come up with this idea that they're going to have their friend Fancourt Babberly personate the aunt. And then the aunt actually shows up.
This is another great character, Lord Fancourt Babberly, who's played by actor J.D. Halsachik. That's one of the more classic roles in this show, as is the role of Stephen Spedigue, the uncle of Amy, who you're playing, Kiera. Tell us about your relationship with those two characters.
So Stephen Spedigue is my uncle. He's not very interested in me. He's more so interested in his ward, who is named Kitty Verdun, because she has an inheritance. And so he essentially doesn't really want her to get married, even though she wants to get married, because if she gets married without his consent, then he gets her inheritance. When it comes to Fancourt Babberly, I become very close with him when I think that he is the aunt. We tell him everything. And back in those days, young ladies weren't alone in rooms with men without guardian present. And so we become very close because we think that he is a woman. And at the end, there's a big blow up, and I don't like him anymore, basically, until the very, very end.
All right. Well, Robert, tell us about the arc of your character in this tale.
Well, he's a very, 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 very grumpy person. And when he is crossed, he is an angry man. However, when he learns that the aunt is a millionaire and he is a mateless uncle, a lonely widower, he turns on the charm and he pursues who he believes to be Donna Lucia de Alvadores.
At first, he's literally pursuing a man in drag.
Yes.
What fun. That must be a really fun role for you.
It breaks my heart, to be honest with you. Try to find someone in life is very, very difficult. And when you think you find them, turns out to be a man. It's a real heartbreaker.
But there's a little twist at the end of the show as well.
Yeah, there's a little twist. When everything is found out, I'm very cross and I abruptly leave.
Unfortunately, Spedigue is the only one that doesn't get paired up.
Oh, that's so sad.
Yeah, I am sad. It just breaks my heart.
Stephanie, can you talk about your overall concept for this production?
I want audiences to have a good time and kind of fall into a funny little story that really has no... I mean, there's so much in this story that doesn't have any play in modern times, like just the fact that they need a chaperone in order to woo their girls, the ridiculousness of the women talking to each other after dinner while the men are smoking in the other room, right? My concept is just basically let's play with those kinds of things and kind of point out how ridiculous they are.
How do you approach that through the design elements and the set costumes and lighting to enhance that storytelling?
Oh, I love the fact that our costumer is going all out with the period stuff, right? Like making sure that the costumes look exactly like they would look in 1892, right? Where the older woman has kind of an older style, but the younger girls are embracing the 1892 kind of bustles in the back, right? And the set design is also kind of ridiculous when you think about it, because there are 3 acts in the play. The 3rd act is very short, but each act is in a different place. And so each set it's almost like we had to do 3 different sets. And again, bringing in that kind of period piece of like, this is what it would look like. It doesn't look like anybody's living room right now. This is what it would look like back then.
And are you doing that as a unit set on the stage, or are you bringing in these 3 scene pieces independently? How's that working?
We have one background, kind of like the walls, the basic walls, and then just a whole bunch of things to dress the set in different ways because the first act's inside, but the second act is outside.
What are some of the challenges or the biggest challenges or opportunities in this play that you find intriguing as a director?
Oh, I think it has to do with Jack's character. Jack is the main college guy who is trying to convince Lord Fancourt Babberley to help him out. He's in love with Kitty, and his friend Charlie is in love with Amy. And they two need Charlie's aunt to come and chaperone them as an excuse for them to profess their love.
Well, why is that intriguing to you?
I think it has to do with the fact that Jack is so charismatic, right? He sees that there's this slight problem. He must profess his love before she leaves for Scotland. And what is he going to do about it? Well, he gonna make it work, by golly. And so and so his character, the lines can be construed as him being kind of a bully, I guess, if you wanted to say, right? Like if you were to say Jack's line in an angry way, it would seem like he pushes everybody around. But if you think of Jack as like this charismatic, like we can do this kind of guy, then all of a sudden the play goes from this kind of angsty, oh, why do guys have to be chaperoned with girls, to this shenanigan kind of feel.
He wants what he wants, and
Yeah.
that brings together a comic situation.
Yes. And I love the fact that in the script, Lord Fancourt Babberley is putting on a dress because he is going to be in a theatrical production. And so they don't think of this until Lord Fancourt Babberley puts on this dress and they're like, hang on, you know what we need? We need you. And they try to convince him. And I just love the fact that in the script itself, it talks about how Lord Fancourt Babberley should not try to pretend to be an elderly woman. He should just be him in a dress. And everybody else just sees what they want to see.
That's hilarious. Well, Kiera, what challenges or opportunities does your character present for you as an actor?
My character cries a lot, and it's noticed by everyone else. Kitty calls it out at the very beginning of the play when she's talking to Jack, her lover, about how I just cry about everything. And that's not something I've done on stage before. So it has been a challenge, but I think I've come around to it and done well with Amy.
Have you had roles as difficult as this one in your recent acting career?
The last time I had a role that was difficult was when I played Brooke Wyndham when I was in high school. So no, it's been in 7 years or so, this has been my most difficult and most line-heavy role.
Well, how did you prepare for it? I mean, did you stand in the kitchen and cut onions all day to learn how to cry? Or what techniques are you employing, having to burst into tears all the time?
I just think about sad things, really. I've just gone through things and I just think about them and then I just start crying. I'm a crier in real life, so taking it to stage wasn't too big of a translation, but it was hard to get it to work at first, but it works now.
Well, Robert, your role as Pettigrew, the man who has such great hopes and whose plans for avoiding financial ruin end up crashing on the rocks by the end of the show. How do you approach this character? How do you keep the audience connected to him through the production?
By the looks of the script, he is a solicitor, a lawyer. And so he uses his charm for juries and the judge and whatever. And so I get to be charming. And when we started going over this, Violet says, be charming, be seductive. And I said, I just seduce with my awkwardness. And so I actually had to get out my comfort zone and try to be more charming. That's how I do that part. When it comes to the anger part, my kids watch this. They're going to say, Dad nailed it, because that's how Dad is. I just use my dad voice.
I'm assuming that your relationship with the characters and your fellow actors is helping to describe your character very strongly.
With Kitty being the ward and basically, I'm not going to say she's, the cash cow, but she offers financial security. And yes, you definitely want to keep her around for as long as possible. One, because now you have somebody who's dependent upon you. And that's where a lot of things were done back in Victorian times. You had a lot of dependence on, the father figure, the aunt, the uncle, etc. When I see that I'm going to be losing these people in my life, I'm very upset. But having Donna Lucia now in my life, being a millionaire, you go from being a person that is if you will, the sole breadwinner, where he is the one who has dependence. Now he's going to be going to somebody who he is now dependent upon. It's a little bit of, a little tough to get through, and there's a lot of weeds in there, but it's a good role.
Is there a moment that you particularly like when you're on stage in the show? Is there something that you look forward to that really makes you happy as an actor?
There is my pontificating when I announce the engagements of the niece and the ward. I get to pontificate, and it's really nice to be able to do that once in a while.
And Kiera, what do you look forward to on your way to the theater when you think, boy, tonight I get to do this thing that makes me really feel great as an actor?
Part of it is that I have a great relationship with my fellow castmates. I really love everybody that we're working with. My friend who plays Charlie, his name is Josiah. We have a great friendship, and I just love our relationship on stage. We've always wanted to play the boyfriend, girlfriend, and we getting to be with him on stage and just our friendship and getting to act with him is kind of what I look forward to most.
And is there a particular reason why that's so important to you?
I just love him. I just love him. If you knew Josiah, you would understand. He's just a sweet little angel. He's easy to act with and to just be close to on stage.
Speaking of collaborating with actors, Stephanie, tell us how you collaborate not just with the actors, but with the creative team members to bring your story to the stage.
Oh, goodness. There is a lot of collaboration. You are right. Putting on something like this takes a lot of people, and you kind of have to make sure that you help them to be able to do the job that you give them to do, but also let them have free reign creatively. Have an open mind when you ask a bunch of designers to do something, so that when they bring their creative ideas, that you can, not only can they help you see your vision, but improve upon it. And so I have a co-director, Shauna, who we decided to do it together as equals, because I first asked her if she wanted to be assistant director, but then when she started talking about how much she loves the show and how much she's always wanted to do it, I realized that we could do it together as equals and share kind of that vision, because our visions are so similar. And then to have other people like the set designer and the costumer come in and say, what do you think of this? Kind of helps your vision be improved upon.
It's inspiring,
Yes.
is what you're saying. Are there any challenges or hurdles that you've had to overcome so far along the way?
Nothing really major when it comes to design elements. The hardest part, I think, is the fact that our whole process, right? You have so many weeks where you're working on lines and so many weeks where you're working on stage, and then you open. We auditioned before Halloween. We've been rehearsing through Thanksgiving. We got rehearsals. We were able to be on the stage and start building our set the Sunday before Christmas. Um, and then we also have New Year's in there as well. And so there's just been like the entire holiday season. So we've been rehearsing as much as we can, but also trying to make sure that we spend time with our families and do all of the holiday stuff as well.
That's quite a balancing act.
Yes, very much so.
This show has honestly, and I don't know from anyone else's perspective, but this show has been like a dream. Everyone gets along. Our relationships are great. Our directors are amazing and so giving and loving and caring. Everything has gone to plan. It's been a dream so far. Perfect show for me.
Well, folks, Charlie's Aunt by Brandon Thomas, the classic British comedy, plays at the Albany Civic Theater January 10th through 25th. You can get your tickets at albanycivic.org. And this is really going to be a fun production. It's all about love and how to achieve it. It's about British class. It's about catalysmic confusion. A man in a dress, an older man who falls in love with him, and the surprises at the end will delight you. Our guest today has been Stephanie Violet Schwarz, who is the co-director of this show, along with Shauna Keefuke, and actors Robert Pickett and Kiera Dodge. Robert, Kiera, and Stephanie, thank you so much for joining us here on KMUZ Theater Talk to talk about Charlie's Aunt.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody that comes is going to have a great time.
It's time to wind up today's KMUZ Theater Talk program. Thank you so much for listening. Next Friday at 9 a.m., tune in to KMUZ at 100.7 FM to hear Talking About Art with Joel Zack. KMUZ Theater Talk is a proud member of the Mid-Valley Theater Network. KMUZ Theater Talk comes your way at 9 a.m. the first and third Friday of the month on KMUZ Community Radio at 100.7 and 88.5 FM, on KMWV-FM Dallas at 98.3 HD2, streaming worldwide at kmuz.org, and on the KMUZ app. And you can always listen to any of our KMUZ Theater Talk episodes anytime, wherever you get your podcasts. Join me January 17th for a brand new KMUZ Theater Talk program on KMUZ FM and wherever you get your podcasts. Meanwhile, go to our KMUZ Theater Talk Facebook page for news and updates about live theater in the Mid-Willamette Valley. And if you haven't yet joined in to support KMUZ Theater Talk, please go to kmuz.org right now, click on Pledge to your favorite show, and choose KMUZ Theater Talk. And thanks for your support. Until next time, I'll see you in the front row.